A Ukrainian woman was murdered by homeless men, but some media isn't reporting it. And it's a pattern of being silent when the killer is black and the victim is white, and loud when it's the opposite. On August 22nd, Irina Zarutska sat down on a bus in front of DeCarlos Brown. DeCarlos, for no apparent reason, stabbed her in the throat. This was cold-blooded murder. Irina was a white, blonde, Ukrainian refugee who fled the war. DeCarlos is a black, homeless, four-time felon who just left jail. I hate that I even need to mention their skin colors, but I do. Because if this had been a white man murdering a black woman, this would be nonstop national news. And yet, the New York Times hasn't reported on it. CNN hasn't reported on it. MSNBC hasn't reported on it. What do they all have in common? They're all on the left. This is clearly newsworthy. It touches multiple third rails: race, immigration, Ukraine war, homelessness, and crime. So why aren't they reporting on it? Because there's a race-based double standard in the media. Now, make no mistake, right-wing media like Fox News and New York Post are biased too. And here's the thing, the media is overwhelmingly left-leaning. 30 to 60% of journalists are on the left. 5 to 7% are on the right. So we're all getting a skewed version of reality, one in which white on black crime is worthy of marching, but black on white crime isn't worth mentioning.
What's going on, everyone? Talks to Kenny here today. And wow, when I found out about this story, imagine my shock, especially when last week, if you guys been following the recent videos I've been putting out, I've been railing a lot on crime, right? And I talk about how a lot of these areas, neighborhoods, they need heavy police presence to prevent stuff like what happened to this Ukrainian refugee that was killed in Carolina, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, in a train. Imagine 9 a.m. You're getting ready possibly to go to work. It looked like she had her work uniform on. And just because you chose the wrong seat that day, you lost your life. Imagine that. Imagine, bro, don't get me started already. I already made my rants about it. And what infuriates me the most is conservatives been pointing this out for a long, long time about the bias of the mainstream media. I've been damn near my whole channel. You can see maybe 20% of my videos is just me complaining about how bad liberal bias is corrupting the journalism industry. And people still don't recognize it. Look at the video. You saw my guy Kaizen highlighting all the facts. I talk about media bias. I talk about how journalism is the most liberal profession in America. I talk about all that stuff. And not a single result. If you go on any of these news channels that he mentioned, BS Now, CNN, and you look up this story, you won't be able to find the story. But if you talk about Daniel Penny, you'll find hundreds of articles on that. George Floyd, thousands of articles on that, right? If it's a white on black crime or a black on white interaction where the white person's at fault or the white person is perceived to be the aggressor, front page news. And we talk about selection bias a lot on this channel, and you can accuse me of that too. But at least I show you what I'm basing my opinions on. And I just see myself, I call myself a conservative, but I don't necessarily see myself as just either a Democrat or a Republican. I just want to vote for the person that makes the most sense. And the Democrats, they're the kind of people soft on crime. It's not by accident. I can't speak today. It's not by accident that 27 out of the 30 top cities for crime rates are run by Democrats. It's not a mistake. Guess who runs Charlotte in North Carolina as mayor? Say it with me, a Democrat. And these patterns of behavior, us noticing, is something that the Democrats have to fix, not the voters, right? And the Charlotte mayor was praising the fact that the media isn't covering the story. She's happy that her media partners aren't exposing her for her lack of policy, essentially. And it just highlights more and more and more why the American people trust the Republican Party when it comes to handling crime. If you care about your safety, if you care about the safety of your fellow citizens, you can't elect a Democrat, or at least elect a Democrat that understands this reality. And I think this is one of the things that Trump derangement syndrome has really destroyed in the Democratic Party, their ability to think common sense.
I think in the last 2 to 5 years, really since Trump, but really recently, his branding of the Republican Party as common sense versus, what's the alternative? Uncommon nonsense. Yeah. He has scrambled the ideological deck. It's not really just conservative versus liberal anymore. It's not really just Republican versus Democrat. It's, for him, and he talked about it at the inaugural, it's just common sense versus the alternative. And a lot of people who never thought of themselves as Republicans, who never voted, who rarely voted, who don't think of themselves as caring about politics at all, who wouldn't want to be called Democrat or Republican, they love to be behind the guy. Well, that's just a common sense thing.
Yeah.
The branding that he put on this is genius because it makes your coalition more elastic. You can bring people in, non-political people who don't want to be caught up in the normal red-blue.
Of course.
They love common sense, and that's what he's selling. And by the way, if you look at the polling, it's working. He's got a common sense view on immigration. He's got a common sense view on cultural, radicalism. These are common sense concepts. You don't have to be steeped in conservative ideology to go, oh yeah, that sounds right to me. Common sense.
Now, we can't get into this without talking with Matt Walsh about this. Now, a lot of people, I follow a lot of accounts on X, and for me, what I want to do on this channel is I just want to give it an American perspective, right? Yes, I admit that I am a conservative. Yes, I openly tell you my bias. Hey, look, my bias, I lean conservative on most issues, right? But I see this from an American sense purely. I see some people criticizing Matt Walsh and saying that his rhetoric is becoming more extreme because he's not taking it anymore. And I'm saying this is like the undergrounding. This is the bubbling that I've been warning the left a lot about, is that you guys keep trying to gaslight Americans into saying this is not a problem. Crime is not a problem. Crime in Chicago is a manufactured crisis. Oh my God, Trump is going to war with Chicago. Wait, you meaning to tell me that Chicago's willing to go to war for criminals, cartels, and illegal immigrants?
President Trump is escalating his threats against the city of Chicago. Yesterday, he posted this meme that says, "I love the smell of deportations in the morning." Chicago is about to find out why it's called the Department of War, unquote. The image, based on the film Apocalypse Now, with Trump as the character from the movie Lieutenant Kilgore. In the movie, he had just napalmed a Vietnamese village. Joining us now to discuss is the president's border czar, Tom Homan. Mr. Homan, always good to have you. So the governor of Illinois responded to President Trump's post. He wrote, quote, "The president of the United States is threatening to go to war with an American city. This is not a joke. This is not normal. Donald Trump isn't a strong man. He's a scared man. Illinois won't be intimidated by a wannabe dictator," unquote. Is President Trump planning to go to war in Chicago?
Look, I think it's worth being taken out of context. If I say we're going to war with the criminal cartels. We're going to war with illegal aliens, public safety threats that rape children, that raped citizens, that committed armed robberies, that distribute narcotics that kill Americans. We're at war with the criminal cartels, and Governor Pritzker protects criminal, illegal alien, public safety threats every day in that state, along with Mayor Johnson. We proved that. The first week of the administration, I went to Chicago. I started an operation there. The first day, we arrested 9 sexual predators, most of them child rapists. We arrested 9 members of TDA. Several of those TDA members had a pistol, an illegal pistol with a switch on it, which makes that pistol fully automatic. We arrested 2 illegal aliens that had a homicide conviction. That was the first day in Chicago. So, President Trump and this administration, yeah, we're at war with the criminal cartels and those who want to murder and rape American citizens. You're damn right.
That's what the Democratic Party stands for? And this is the kind of stuff that turns people off from the Democratic Party or antagonize people to go towards the Republican Party. It's fitting that these two stories are going viral at the same time. They are very much related. The reason the guy on the right was out on the street is because our criminal justice system is run by and tailored to the sensibilities of women like the one on the left, aka liberal women. And I've been joking, sometimes I jokingly say on this channel that the most dangerous people in this country is actually white liberal women, right? I joke around, but at this point, you know who runs Chicago? Not Chicago. You know who runs Charlotte, North Carolina, where this horrific event happened at? It's a liberal woman. I'm just noticing, guys. And no, I'm not being racist or sexist. I'm just saying pattern recognition isn't sexism. Pattern recognition isn't racism. I'm just noticing a pattern. I pointed out. Here's another tweet from Matt Waltz. Many people on the left are criticizing him as saying he sounds more extreme. Let me know, does this sound more extreme, or do you think this rhetoric is warranted from someone who's more conservative, more right-leaning than I am? In our society, we don't talk about sin, evil, vice, or bad choices anymore. It's all have been summarized under the banner of mental health. Every evil action is a symptom of a disease. A guy randomly murdering an innocent woman on a train is merely showing signs of a mental illness. Savage killers are morally indispensable from cancer patients. This is the root of many of our problems. And this is the suicidal empathy I think many leftists are prone to. And I think many people, and one of the reasons why my sensibilities is more towards the right, is I believe they're more pragmatic when it comes to this stuff. You can't have a system that gives exceptions. You can't have a system that's like, oh, you got to think of the circumstances. This law disproportionately affects black people. No, these black men that commit these crimes disproportionately commit these crimes. Therefore, they're going to get disproportionate amount of the punishment, aka they're going to be overrepresented in incarcerations because they make overwhelmingly the decisions that warrants that response. And because we're holding them accountable at a disproportionate rate doesn't mean it's racism. And instead of calling, our people to hold these people accountable, not tolerate these people anymore, and from a cultural sense, shame these people to disincentivize more of our youth in following these footsteps, black liberals and white liberals go out and pay lip service with restorative justice and criminal justice reform. And then we tolerate this stuff, right? We give them second chances. We give them the gentle parenting, on crime, on criminals and all that stuff, and they just use and abuse it. You know how many times this guy's been arrested? What a still photo. My God. We can't even see the real footage. Everyone's still looking for the real footage. I don't want to see that gruesome footage. And everyone knows, if it was a black woman, white man doing this, we all know where it was going to go. It would have been national news. We would have been heard about it. You know when this happened? On August 22nd. Imagine that. So almost for what? 3 weeks, 2 weeks, nobody heard this story. A 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee, Ayana, was fatally stabbed in an unprovoked attack on a Charlotte Lynx Blue Line light rail by the Carlos Brown Jr., a 34-year-old man with 18 prior arrests. What he was still doing on the streets. That's that soft on crime BS that I was talking about with Chicago. And then people want to pretend that I'm making it up, that I'm overblowing a problem, and then vindicate it again. This is ridiculous, and this is where the left starts losing people, because all your platitudes, soft on crime. Oh, there's social workers. We should let social workers handle this. Yeah, let a social worker handle this guy, and they'll end up in the same position as this lady. Why is the disgusting, senseless, unprovoked murder of a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee, Ilana, I ain't gonna butcher your last name, ma'am, by a man named Carlos Brown Jr. on a train in Charlotte, North Carolina, not getting more media attention? Because it hurts a narrative. And it proves another one that's been pushed by the right. Hey, it's not our fault that we notice a pattern that 30% of the population is committing almost 50% of the crime, and they're disproportionately in jail. That happens for a reason. It's not because of systematic racism. It's because of systematic decision-making by said group of certain individuals. And if we notice certain individuals disproportionately make these decisions, don't get mad at us at our response. And it's up to the people that's part of that race where these certain individuals do 50% of the crime to hold them accountable and create a cultural incentive where our youth don't go down this route. And it's the fact that we tolerate this stuff. And then they're gonna have the gall to call, oh, get in your bias, oh, you this. But they never like to call out the bias on their side. Daniel Plenty, white man, happened to defend a bunch of people on the train and happened to kill a homeless black man. Racism, hate crime, everyone. The black liberals wanted to hold that man accountable. Yana, similar situation, right? If we were looking at it from a hate crimes perspective, right? And I don't think it's a hate crime, but hey, we can get the argument unprovoked, right? At least Daniel Penny was saying, hey, this guy threatened people. What did the Ukrainian woman do? Sat next to him, looked like he was sleeping. She disturbed his sleep, and he's like, she gotta die for that. That was unforgivable. And this is what I talk about with liberals, is that a lot of them, I think a lot of people who believe on soft on crime, they probably come from a privileged background, in my estimation. Because I've seen crime in my face. I grew up in the hood. Criminals only respect force. You let them out. Oh, hey, I had 18 arrests, and you still let me out on these streets? I have 4 felonies? And I'm still out here? I guess let me see what else I can get away with. They'll continue pushing the boundaries. And more people are getting victimized by the day. And you wonder why the right is coming the way they coming. You wonder why many people, even though polls say, hey, we don't like the fact that Donald Trump is going to send the National Guard, and we don't like the idea that Donald Trump wants to send the National Guard to other states and other cities. Can you blame him when more stories keep backing up the thesis that the Republicans are putting, the case that they're putting in front of the American people? You can argue theories, you can argue claims, predictions, but you can't argue results. You can't argue events. And people are noticing a pattern. Hey, a guy with a repeated track record, somehow he always ends up back on the street. He just came out of jail, and after just coming out of jail, he already victimized someone else. He should not have been on the streets in the first place. And that's what the conservatives are coming out with. Conservatives are making the case to the American people, hey, if things were ran our way in that city, these things would have been preventable. And the fact that many people can claim, and it's true, you can go verify all this yourself. New York Times, CNN, Washington Post, BS Now, NPR, USA Today, Reuters, Axios, ABC, PBS. None of them are covering the story. You only find out about the story because you went online. And you wonder why I have this quote that I will rather trust the internet more than the TV / everybody else but Democrats. Everyone else but boomer Democrats. Democrats are the only group of people who still trust and get most of their news possibly from these main news networks. Everyone younger, like under 30, around 30, we get our news online now. And you see why. Because they're filtering. They want to expose stories that they want you to see, and then they want to shove under the rug stories they don't want you to see. The internet is all. If you want to find something, you'll find it on the internet. These same outlets who wrote 10,000s of stories on Daniel Penny, George Floyd, but for Iyanla, 0. This is intentional. They decide who matter, get sympathy, and who is forgotten. They want you to forget about this. They don't want the narrative to be this way. And then people would go back and say, oh, let's not try to generalize or racialize this. No one's racializing nothing. All we're saying is if a person has a pattern of behavior and has been committing successive crimes, they should be held in jail. There should be a penalty. They should be off the streets. Tough on crime. That's what we want. And we're using this story as an example of why we make the case that we make. We're not trying to make a race thing. We're not trying to racialize it. We're just pointing out, hey, look. And then we're trying to diagnose the motives for why the left don't want to actually implement or go along with tough on crime approach because it hurts a certain demographic of people that is their voter block, black males. 30% of the population committing 50% of the crime. And even then, that 30%, they're a minority inside that group. Majority of black people are law-abiding citizens. But we don't like criminals. We shouldn't be tolerating criminals. We shouldn't be tolerating evil, as Matt Walsh will say it. And I haven't seen a positive comment yet. I mean, there's people trying to defend this, but it's hard to defend this. It's hard. Like, how? How do you do it? You can't. This is a greater outrage than the death of every BLM martyr combined 10 times 1,000. This is one of the tweets that the left is trying to say that Matt Walsh is becoming extreme. This is a greater outrage than the death of every BLM martyr combined times 1,000. What a strong statement. Do you guys agree in the comment section? I'd like to hear your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below, but there's only stories like this is only adding more fuel to the approach that Republicans have been pushing for a long time. Being tough on crime, because you can't tolerate stuff like this. You can't give space to stuff like this and to excuse it all. I'm also tired of the excuse of mental illness, mental health. Like people are not just naturally born good. I'm just gonna say it like this. I'm gonna say it straight like this. He made a choice to do that. It was premeditated. If you see the video, he opens his knife, looks, and then gets up. And the funny part, you know what I hate about that video too, when I looked at it, when I reverted back, no one noticed until they start noticing blood on the floor. And in the initial attack, if you saw the freeze frame, a lot of people were on their phones. No one was paying attention. Even the woman herself wasn't paying attention because she had earphones in her ears. And this is one of my paranoias, I guess, because I grew up in the hood. And let me know if you guys do this too. I don't like to, if I'm in a public area, I don't like to have headphones or anything in my ears. I tend to see girls do that. I don't do that. My ears are free. I'm looking around. I'm making sure, because this is how I grew up. Anytime something can go down, I have to find my escape route. I got to find cover. I'm always thinking in that way. Now, maybe people can call me traumatized, but that's how I grew up. But hey, I digress. It's unfortunate what happens, but this just validates the case more and more that the Republicans are saying, yo, Democrats, get your act together. It's time for y'all to start handling crime. And it's time for Americans, so if they want crime to be solved, it's looking more and more and more like Democrats ain't the party to solve it. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be eager to hear your thoughts and your opinions in this comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if you feel so inclined. It really does help me on the algorithm, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.